Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Community Development and Regulatory Services Committee for today, February 16th. I've been joined by council members Reich, Fry, Quincy, and Cano, which is a quorum of the committee. There's a very short consent agenda. They include items 7 through 10, actually 7 through 11, with 11 being setting a public hearing. Are there any items anyone would like to pull from 7 through 11 for discussion? Seeing none, I'll move the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Those items are approved. And we'll move on to our public hearing agenda, starting with item number 1, which is a land sale. Ms. Kimball, welcome.
Thank you. Chair Goodman, members of the committee, 3115 Knox Avenue North is a vacant single-family home that is recommended for sale for $1 to Homes Minnesota LLC as the purchaser. Homes Minnesota LLC intends to rehabilitate the property as a single-family home and sell it for owner occupancy upon completion. If Homes Minnesota LLC does not purchase the property, staff recommends sale for $1 to Tai Han LLC as an alternate purchaser. Tai Han LLC also intends to rehabilitate the property as a single-family home and sell it for owner occupancy upon completion. I'll take any questions at this time.
Are there any questions for Ms. Kimball on item number 1? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing on item number 1, which is a land sale at 3115 Knox Avenue North. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Quincy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move approval of item number 1.
Item number 1 has been moved for approval. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 2. Ms. Kimball.
Chair Goodman, members of the committee, 2102 25th Avenue North is a vacant single-family home that is recommended for sale for $5,000 to Homes Minnesota LLC as the purchaser. Homes Minnesota LLC intends to rehabilitate the property as a single-family home and sell it for owner occupancy upon completion. I'll take any questions at this time.
Are there any questions for Ms. Kimball on item number 2? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing on item number 2, which is a land sale at 2102 25th Avenue North. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Quincy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move approval of this land sale, item number 2.
Item number 2 has been moved for a further approval. Comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. On to item number 3. Ms. Kimball.
Chair Goodman, members of the committee, 2934 Queen Avenue North is a vacant single-family home that is recommended for sale for $1 to Dwayne Etheridge as the purchaser. Mr. Etheridge is a general contractor who intends to rehabilitate the property as a single-family home and owner-occupy it upon completion. If Mr. Etheridge does not purchase the property, staff recommends sale for $1 to CJC Minneapolis Atlanta LLC as the alternate purchaser. CJC Minneapolis intends to rehabilitate the property as a single-family home, lease it during its marketing period, and then sell the property to either a rental investor or an owner-occupant. I'll take it.
So the secondary potential purchaser is basically saying, I'm going to rehab it and then rent it. And why would we want to do that? We're taking a write-off on this property, so why would we want to sell it, lose money, and then turn around and sell it for rental?
Correct. So CJC Minneapolis is recommended as the alternate purchaser in the event that Mr. Etheridge does not move forward. CJC Minneapolis is intending to fully rehabilitate the property. It's been vacant for some time. The city of Minneapolis has owned it since 2012. We have previously marketed this property. We did not receive offers when we previously marketed it. And so in the opinion of staff, seeing the property rehabilitated and reoccupied was preferable to the potential alternative of demolishing the property.
Okay. Are there any other questions on item number 3? Councilmember Quincy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to follow up a little bit more on that question of Mr. Etheridge. Is there any reason that he would not be able to move forward on a close that would make the likelihood of CJC recommendation?
From our staff review, we think that Mr. Etheridge is a very strong candidate. He demonstrated very strong financial capacity, and in particular, his experience as a general contractor historically indicates that the likelihood of CJC Minneapolis purchasing the property is very small.
So why would a second option be sought instead of just reopening it, remarketing it, should Mr. Etheridge not be able to close?
If that's the will of the council, that's certainly an option that could be, an amendment that could be recommended. In the opinion of staff, particularly given the amount of time that we've owned this particular property, we wanted to see a quick resolution. We also researched CJC Minneapolis Atlanta LLC, and we did not find anything in their history of ownership. They have historically rehabilitated other properties in the city of Minneapolis, and we didn't see anything in their history of performance that was cause for concern.
Other questions for staff on item number 3? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing on item number 3, which is a land sale at 2934 Queen Avenue North. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. I'm going to move approval of the staff recommendation for the primary owner and strike the language with regard to the secondary owner. Are there further comments? Secondary applicant. Are there further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 4. Mr. Lind, welcome.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Item number 4 is the public hearing on the land sale of 800 Washington Avenue South. It's commonly referred to as the Guthrie liner parcel, or adjacent to the riverfront ramp over there. The proposal is to sell the property to Mortensen Development for $3,784,000, or roughly $155 a square foot. Mortensen Development was selected from an RFP process that started about 10 months ago. Mortensen will be building a 203-room Hyatt Centric Hotel on the site, along with office space for the Academy of Neurology on the 9th floor, and the ability to add a 10th floor for the Academy as well. There will be a restaurant on the corner of Washington and Chicago, and retail space on the corner of Washington and 9th Avenue. The entrance to the hotel will front on the service alley, not on Washington, but on the service alley. We do have representatives from Mortensen here today if there are any questions. The timeline intent is to have this project completed and up and running by the time of the 2018 Super Bowl.
Are there any questions for Mr. Lind? Councilmember Frye.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Lind. What's the time frame for getting in the ground?
For breaking ground?
Yes.
Madam Chair, Councilmember Frye, the intent is for us to obviously, based on today's action, to go back and complete the redevelopment contract and hopefully hold a closing sometime in the next 6 months, with groundbreaking in late summer and the fall of 2016 here. About a 15-month construction period, so then completing that construction sometime in the late 2017.
That'd be great. I would love to see a groundbreaking as soon as possible. If you could just give me a call after, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any questions for staff on item number 4? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 4, which is a land sale at 800 Washington Avenue South. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Frye.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll happily move approval of this item.
Approval of item number 4 has been moved. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 5, which is the land sale for Green Homes North, round 5. Ms. Shoquist, welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair Goodman, members of the committee. Green Homes North Round 5 proposals were received from 12 developers, most of which are in the audience here today. AA Contracting, AQ Duke, City of Lakes Community Land Trust, Ibiza LLC, Kayak Properties, Inc., Build Wealth, Minnesota, Pazer LLC, PPL Homes, PRG, Inc., Prestige Contractors, Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity, and Urban Homeworks. We received 48 developer proposals from our vacant city North Minneapolis Green Homes North vacant lot list of nearly 350 properties. We are recommending today 12 designs by 8 different developers and recommending 23 homes in 7 neighborhoods. We have $1.3 million in development gap assistance available. The average development gap request was less than $70,000. The average recommendation is less than $60,000. We prioritized in this round proposals that came in with the least amount of Green Homes North program funds and or that were able to leverage our Green Homes North funds. I will quickly go through the design proposals. Most of these properties will have estimated market values of $190,000 to $220,000. What we're recommending is the estimated market value today. They will ultimately be sold for the estimated market value when they are built later this summer, early this fall. The majority of the homes have 3 to 4 bedrooms and 2 and 3 baths. Thank you. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for Ms. Sjoquist on item number 5? I'll just note before we open the public hearing that it is my intent as chair to pull 4311 Girard, 4155 Irving, 4131 James, and 4241 DuPont, all avenues north, off the list for approval today, and to move forward on the remainder, just in case anyone was wondering about that. Thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing on item number 5. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and I will move approval of the staff recommendation. However, I'd like to pull 4311 Girard Avenue North. I have them all written down for the clerk. 4155 Irving Avenue North, 4131 James Avenue North, and 4241 DuPont Avenue North, all in the Weber-Camden neighborhood to have further discussion. All of the other items we're recommending approval. Are there further comments or questions on the chair's motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Then we'll move on to item number 6. Let's see. No, those were removed. Those are. Nick, welcome.
Hi, Councilmember Goodman.
Yeah, go ahead.
Great. Madam Chair, council members, I'm here to talk today about a proposed ordinance change to the Minneapolis Housing Board of Appeals involving the membership and the structure of the board. So the Minneapolis Housing Board of Appeals was set up by ordinance to hear appeals of housing maintenance code orders issued by city housing inspectors. They can weigh a variety of different factors when considering an appeal of a housing order, including the occupancy of the building, the economic life of the building, the architectural characteristics of the building, and the characteristics of the surrounding neighborhood. Kind of the typical example that we give is if a building was built in 1895 and the ceiling height in the building was 6'10" at that time, and somebody's buying that building to convert it over to a rental property, rather than making an owner jump through a lot of hoops to get the required 7-foot ceiling height in that property. We have a process set up for an administrative review to grant a code exception right now, or previously it was a 7-foot requirement. Some orders are not appealable, so things like life safety issues. If a property doesn't have smoke detectors, they do have to have smoke detectors. Zoning issues aren't appealable. Nuisance issues aren't appealable. Right now, appeals are received by administrative staff. They are then reviewed and scheduled for hearing if necessary. Many appeals are resolved administratively. The previous Deputy Director for Housing Inspections did start kind of reviewing things when they were taken in to see if we could maybe work something out before having it go to the full Housing Board of Appeals. There are 3 voting city staff members, 8 voting public members, and 3 ex officio city staff members who serve for technical expertise on the board. As you can see, there have been fewer and fewer cases as in the past few years. In 2011, we had 36. Last year and the year before, there were only 8 cases that were heard. Last year, there was a change to the Minnesota State Building Code allowing for bedroom ceiling heights of 6'4", and we're expecting that to further decrease appeals. It sort of leaves a lot less wiggle room left there. You know, if you have a room with 6'3", they're not really going to allow an administrative appeal for that. So we're proposing to change the board composition to 3 internal subject matter experts, the Director of Regulatory Services or designee, the building official or designee, and the fire chief or designee. The decisions of that internal board will still be appealable to the Minnesota Court of Appeals, and we're expecting that will make the process more efficient, cheaper, and utilize our in-house code experts to hopefully increase some of the consistency of the decisions that we hear before that board. As of this morning, we hadn't received any written feedback about the proposed ordinance change. We did notify the current board members last month that we would be making this change with the date and time of the hearing. I'd be happy to stand for questions if you have any.
Are there any questions for staff on item number 6? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing on item number 6, which is amending the Code of Ordinances to eliminate the Housing Board of Appeals membership and move it into an administrative process. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Sandy Lesher. I'm the longest living member of the Board of Appeals. I've been on since Sharon Sells Belton was a council member. And I realize that the appeals numbers have really gone down. We seldom meet, but I really question the idea of taking away this public appeal process. Over the years, I've seen a lot of people not win at the appeals board, but I saw them go away satisfied that they had their say, they had their day in court. Of course, it's not a court, but they got a chance to talk about it. They talked it through, and most times they were very satisfied, even if they lost. So at a time when people are questioning government and very skeptical about things, I think this is a poor time to take away that option to be heard by your peers. We don't have set meetings. We don't meet every month. We meet as needed. And I do think it would be good to just reserve this, even if it's only used once a year, for those people who want to pay, landlords pay $150 to have their appeal heard. Homeowners do not have to pay. It's a very informal meeting. And also, I think for the board members, we have really learned a lot over the years, and we've shared that knowledge. I'm a real estate broker, and I have shared this knowledge with a lot of realtors about what they have to be careful of, what to watch out for. And I think we've done a good job with feedback to staff. We've had constant problems with truth in housing reports in the sense that the public takes that as some kind of warranty that the house is good. And often the appeals we hear involve items on the truth in housing reports. So thank you very much for letting me serve all these years. And I hope you will consider just keeping that as a tool in your toolbox. Thank you
for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. I'm going to move a recommendation of the staff recommendation. I am the author of this ordinance change, and I strongly believe it's a change we should make. I chair the city's claims committee, and this year also, we've eliminated the city's claims committee and moved it to an administrative process. People would love to come in front of a board of elected officials or citizens to try to plead their case, but the truth of the matter is they don't win. And we're not subject matter experts. And so to give people a feel-good thing that they can pay for and come in and see us about a ticket they've had or a tow they've had, makes absolutely no sense to me. We have expertise in this area. The number is dwindling, and I don't think that there is value added in this particular situation anymore. Prior to 3 years ago, when most of the requests were ceiling height requests, there was probably some value. There was a large number of requests, but with 8 requests a year, to have 8 members of the public come in to hear 1 or 2 things, or even to hear them all in a year would be extremely ineffective once a year. It just doesn't make sense. I think this is outdated, like the Claims Committee is outdated, which is why I agreed to author this, which I almost never do. This like claims has been a good thing in the past, and I thank you for your service and all the people who have served, but this is what our professional staff is for, and I think we need to get out of this business of having the general public and council members working on these kinds of things. Councilmember Quincy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with the action and your motion to do this, and that is not in any way to disparage the work that the committee has done over the years. But one of the benefits that I saw from a resident's perspective when we were changing our procedures on the Claims Committee, which I also serve on with you, it actually expedites that process for the recipient, or for the resident in this case. They don't have to wait for X number of months before they're hearing from a panel to yet see another action that they're going to have to proceed. This actually puts them in the pipeline faster to a more satisfactory outcome from their perspective. So I just wanted to give that as another reason that this action should be taken. So thank you.
Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the staff recommendation signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll then move to our remaining item, which is the Plaza Verde loan restructure. I believe Ms. Perrell is here for this item. This seems to be somewhat of a success story, so moving in the right direction. So I thought perhaps we would just hear a little bit more about it. Thank you for your time.
Thanks. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, council members. Before you is a proposal to restructure 2 loans in the Plaza Verde project and be repaid a 3rd loan that's currently in the project in full. Last fall, the Neighborhood Development Center, which is owner of the Plaza Verde project and also manager of that project, began negotiations with Mr. Kadar Adan on his purchase of the Plaza Verde project, and they were able to arrive at a purchase agreement agreeable to both of them last month. Mr. Adan and his wife and business partner plan to continue to operate the building as a community asset and a hub for immigrant entrepreneurs. They're working with Sunrise Bank on a new first mortgage loan in the amount of $750,000, as well as a new second mortgage loan with LISC for $250,000. And they will bring over $450,000 in cash equity to closing. With these sources, they will pay back the city's $246,000 empowerment zone loan in full. However, in order to make the project and the purchase financially feasible, he has requested that the city of Minneapolis approve restructured terms for the city's $281,000 Cdf loan, which is CBDG funds, as well as a $45,000 NRP loan. The 3 proposed changes to the CEDF loan are changing the borrower entity, altering the payment terms to begin interest-only payments, as well as extending the maturity date by 6 years. And the Midtown Phillips NRP loan just requires a change in ownership and has no payments and is fully forgivable in 2019. Both Sunrise and LISC are currently in underwriting, and so the changes proposed today are contingent upon those banks going through their due diligence period and approving those first and second mortgage loans. And I will note that we have representatives here today from both LISC and NDC, and Mr. Adan is here as well.
Okay, great.
Any questions?
I just have one question, and that has to do with the sources, the uses of the funds, the easy funds. So is that recycled funding that then just goes into the development account, or where does that funding go?
Right now, I do have it shown on the council report to go back into SDA, Fund SDA, which is the development account.
Okay. And
we can, it's not, easy funds are not required to go into that fund, but that is.
It's the most flexible. We're getting paid back on the most flexible of money and leaving our less flexible money, although a large amount of money, in the project to hopefully assist Mr. Adan in being able to make this a success.
And we wouldn't expect to be repaid all 3 of these loans, or the 2 loans that are to be repaid at its current maturity date in 2017.
Right. Are there other questions for Ms. Proud? Do you have a question? Okay, I'll take comments after questions. Is that okay? Are there other questions for Ms. Perrell? Would the committee like to be introduced to Mr. Adon? Mr. Adon, would you like to come up and introduce yourself? So we can thank you for taking on this project.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kadar Adan. I'm currently residing in Seattle, Washington. I'm from Africa originally, but I'm a U.S. citizen. I would like to move in this city and to be part of the greater Somali community here in Minneapolis. And I appreciate it if the council approves the restructuring the loan that we are requesting. And I believe that's the only thing now we need to get everything in place for your approval.
Well, thank you for being here today. And it sounds like your idea for an event center is a very worthy one. And hopefully we can assist in helping make that happen. Councilmember Cano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, as the council member representing this area where this project is currently located, I wanted to thank our city staff, Rebecca Perel, and the team members at CPED, because I've had the pleasure of working with Rebecca on multiple projects in my ward. And I'm always very pleased with your high level of organized thinking and sophistication around these projects, and your promptness in engaging with our office in the community and solving some of these issues. As we know, development has been challenging in this general area, and it's really nice to have your attention and your energy focused on these projects. So I attribute part of the success of this partnership to your skills and your abilities, and I'm very thankful to be working with you on these projects. I also want to acknowledge our partners, our community partners who are here today. And Neighborhood Development Center has stepped up to some pretty challenging times in our ward, particularly with the Mercado Central project, which is right across the street from Plaza Verde. And then, of course, acknowledging that you've been able to retain and to continue to move Plaza Verde forward, even though many years ago, this was an area of the city where not many folks wanted to invest. And we are likely seeing that changing, and it'll probably change as the years move forward. And so with that, then the focus really becomes, how do we continue to support immigrant entrepreneurs, new Americans, people of color to continue to build their wealth and continue to invest in the areas of our city that we know have become valuable because of the diversity and the multilingual approach that they bring to the work and to the life of the city. So I'm just thankful to be able to work with many of you today, and hopefully in the future, and LISC as well. And then I've known of LISC for many years. I was actually one of their interns in Hope Community when I was first involved in the community development field. So I'm very happy to see this project move hands in a good way, in a way that I think, Mike Tamale is not here, but I will acknowledge his name and the hard work he's done in this corridor. And I hope to be able to continue to work with the new owners to ensure that the immigrant community can continue to thrive in this area.
Would you like to move approval?
Yes, I would like to move approval of this item.
Approval has been moved by Councilmember Cano. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That item is approved. Seeing no further business before us, we are adjourned.